Alright, yo, peace everybody, it's your boy Trey the Creator and welcome to Creators Corner. Today is Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. And again, welcome. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the channel, as well as hit the notification bell and share the video. I think today's topic most definitely should be shared to anyone black and who is, you know, in the searching for answers and who wants to know, and who just wants to send to someone to just give them some insight onto the origin of all the races. I want to start with some current events. I think that I should start here before I get into the meat of today's subject. Let's start off with the True Kitchen incident. If you don't know, the True Kitchen incident basically was when it happened in Dallas. I think a few days ago, not that long ago, but it's a fairly relevant situation. And basically how it went is it was the owner had to basically kick some females out because they were being ratchet and and twerking in his establishment and shit like that. Now let's break this story down a little bit. So apparently True Kitchen is a high-end restaurant in near downtown Dallas, so I guess you could say it's downtown Dallas. And you know, it's a black owned business, so you know black people gonna play some black music. Apparently he was playing some, I forgot what music it was, but it was, you know, some nigga shit. He had a DJ in there playing, and he basically went over to the ladies' table who would eventually get kicked out, and basically, you know, told them at least 3 or 4 times, like, hey, you know, no twerking in here. You know what I'm saying? This is a public establishment. Don't do that. You know, please don't do that. He went and said that 3, 4 times, and they kept standing on top of his furniture and on top of his property. I don't know if anybody ever been to like Longhorn or anything like that, or Red Lobster, where they have like the booths, like the cushion booths. They were standing on top of those, twerking and shit, like just being ratchet and being disrespectful. They were putting their hands on top of the man's glass windows, shaking their ass, and dude had to ultimately kick these females out because this is a public establishment, and you know, people have been divided with this. Of course, you have people like me who's saying these women are 100% wrong. I don't give a fuck what music he's playing. Have some fucking self-respect for yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Don't be going around here shaking your ass in public, you understand, for the whole world to see in front of kids and, you know what I'm saying, grown people, grandmas and come on, it's a time and place for that shit. And then you have others who are sitting here saying, well, he's wrong, he shouldn't have cussed them out, he shouldn't have been playing that music. Like, you have people on that side, you got people like me who want to at least slap shit out of these people for the dumb shit they say. Like, the simple fact that this man had to come to you and tell you more than once to stop twerking in his establishment, he has a right to do that. You understand? It's his restaurant. And on a deeper aspect, we don't do this shit in other people's establishments. When have you ever seen someone twerking in a Longhorn, a Red Lobster? You don't see none of that shit. They'll kick you out for that. You're disturbing the peace of the restaurant doing that shit. And people can sit here and saying your DJ was playing twerking music. That's irrelevant, essentially. He's just playing music that, you understand, that people like us listen to. That don't mean you have to go around twerking. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we need to have some self-respect. And this to me just shows where we are as a people and how fucked up as a people we are. You understand what I'm saying? I was telling me and my fiance was talking about this, and she was just like, you could tell that these women don't have a respect for men. And I'm like, I agree. Because when you look at them, there was no man around in that group. It was just all females. Even the mother who was trying to defend the daughter for twerking, she was going off on the dude. Like, you shouldn't be saying that. You don't need to be telling her what to do. We can do what we want to do here. And he's the owner. It's a lack of respect of authority. Because again, we don't go to other people's establishment and do that type of shit. You understand what I'm saying? I told this a coworker of mine yesterday. You know, you never see Asians practice martial arts. You never see an Asian practicing martial arts outside of the martial arts dojo or their homes. You don't see them on the corners, you know what I'm saying, just theatrically doing some martial arts. You don't see them in front of their nail shops. You don't see them in front of their hair salons or their Chinese restaurants, just being a spectacle for people to see. You don't see that. You only see that in black culture, and it's sad that that's essentially what we have been somewhat deemed to be, spectacles of entertainment. So I agree with this brother 100%. If I come to you 3-4 times and I tell you, hey, stop doing something, at some point I gotta tell you to leave. I had no problem with him telling them to get the fuck out, because I agreed with him. It's a time and place for that twerking shit. If you want to twerk, go to the club. Don't come to my public establishment doing that shit, because I have people here trying to eat. And he said, my mother eats here, my grandmother eats here, my children eat here. I don't need them coming in here seeing you shake your ass. Like, come on, this is not a club. But like I said though, man, when it comes to us, we just have a lack of respect for one another, man. And you know what I'm saying? Like, the simple fact, like I said, that people are defending this shit. Like, he shouldn't be saying that. It just baffles me that we are so lower brained right now to the point where twerking in public is somewhat enamored or welcomed. Like, I see all, like, not even this video itself, I see videos, it's been all during this election cycle of men dancing and women dancing and twerking and in front of election booths, and even the Body by Mexican by Megan her song. I see all this dancing. It's like, come on, what are we dancing for? Like, we literally finna dance our ways back into slavery the way we are. Like, it's crazy how people think. And then when somebody like me come along and say, cut that shit out, we need to focus on other things. No, you being divisive, get the fuck out of here with all of that hotep shit, and what you're saying is divisive, and this is black culture, this is what we do. And I'm like, is black culture being a spectacle for white people? Like, is that what it has come to for us? Sadly, it has. But it's people like me who are saying, cut that shit out, man. Cut the shenanigans out. We need to stop all of this foolishness and get back to trying to, building our communities up. But let me get off of that, man, because I could talk about that shit for the next hour. That video in itself is a topic. You know what I'm saying? Because I could talk about the mother, the daughter, and every other female that was around, and the man, and how, you know what I'm saying, it's meant to be the stain between the black man and the black woman. I can go into that shit for hours, but that's not the meat of this video. What I want to talk about specifically in this video, basically, is the origin of man. Because me and some people on Twitter, we was getting at it the other day about this, and it first started off as a time. I interjected myself into a conversation, so I'll say that I interjected myself into this. But and the reason why was because these two Arab or whatever men beating up on a black woman. I ain't appreciate that shit. You know, they was beating, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say she was beating her up, but they was double teaming her. And I'm like, I gotta cut into this shit, because I ain't gonna let this shit fly on my timeline. I can see it. They was basically saying that, black people aren't the Egyptians, and black people were in, down in Africa, and they didn't really do anything, that that's an Arabic or Middle Eastern territory. And if you know me, I'm like, it's time for me to step into this shit, because let's just get this out the way right here. The Egyptians were black. No way around it. And I'm going to, and they can sit here and I'm going to explain later on why they say the Egyptians were white or Caucasian, and you're going to understand why, but I'm going to break it down to where you understand and clearly know that anytime you hear that, you can shut that shit down 1000%. And this again is the video on the origins of man, or the African origins of civilization. So like I said, share the video to anybody that you want to see it. It's probably gonna be a 2-part video, because I don't want this video to be too long. I want people to be able to digest what I say, and then at a later date you come back and you get more information in, because I'm going to pack a lot of information into this. But first, let's start off with the two main reference points I will be using. First is the Iceman Inheritance by what his name is, Michael Bradley. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of Michael Bradley, but he is a white author who it was co-signed by John Henry Clark and Professor James Smalls. Get this book. It speaks about the prehistoric sources of Western man racism, sexism, and aggression. It's basically a book on white people, in other words. And then the next book is Civilization or Barbarism by Sheikh Anta Diop. I might have said his name wrong, but I'm sorry. I have his book. This book right here is probably both of these books work hand in hand. Essentially, I recommend get both of them. But yeah, Civilization or Barbarism, I'm going to use this as a reference for the Outer Africa theories, essentially. So if you want to, please support these two dudes. These books are very informative. I think they're both under $20, I believe. I think this may be the more expensive one. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, bottom line is check the book out. So where we're gonna start for the day is we're gonna start with the different subgroups, or basically what we're gonna start this off is, you first have Homo sapiens. Now, where my notes at? 'Cause I don't even have my notes. Well, let's not even start there. Let's start with who created the term race, or decided they wanted to divide the races up. And of course, it was a white dude. I'm sure that everybody already knows that. And the person who basically came up with the idea of race was a man by the name of Georges Louis Leuric and Comte de Buffon. Now, I can't pronounce these dudes' names. I'm not even gonna try, but in essence, these are the two people basically who are responsible for basically coming up with the concept or idea of race. Now, essentially, because I might not necessarily need to really go into this book. Let's see if I can find this piece in the book right quick. Now, the use and value of the term race during what our historians like to call the Age of Enlightenment. And what he means by historian, he means white historians. Basically, Linnaeus included man in the animal world, recognized only one species existing presently, and basically Linnaeus listed 6 varieties of this one human species, and 4 of these varieties, Europas, Asiatic, Americas, and of course Afar, roughly reflected inhabitants of the continental masses. The word race itself was introduced by scientific literature by Buffon in his Histoire Naturelle. I can't pronounce the fucking word, but basically, like I said, it was created by white people. Get this book. That's all I'm gonna say is get this goddamn book, because I don't feel like going into all of that. But okay, so basically the main races, I'm not gonna get into every single one of them, but there are 3 to 4 main races. First are Negroid. Negroid, it will basically mean like Congoid or West African or Sub-Saharan African, basically. So I have my globe here. Let me pull this over so you can see what I'm talking about here. So Jesus, it's gonna be hard to do, but I'm pretty sure you can figure out who's who. So anyone up here, let's say in like Libya, Egypt, and etc., they don't consider to be Negroid. But everyone that is below, like let's say from like West African and below, they consider those essentially to be Negroid. They consider the people of Jesus, my goddamn globe. They consider the people of North Africa and also the people of the Middle East and also the people of Europe to be Caucasoid. And they also consider the people of Asia to be what is considered Mongoloid. Now, again, I know I didn't describe it well on my little globe or whatever the case is. So, but I'll break it down in word form to where you understand what I'm saying. So, basically, Negroid, Sub-Saharan African, West African. Caucasoid, North African, Middle East, India. Mongoloid, Asia. Now, if we take this a little bit further before that concept or idea of race, you have Homo sapien, and Homo sapien would be basically mean African or black. Understand that the only way someone is considered a human, a pure human, or a Homo sapien would basically mean that they are 100% African and they have no Neanderthal or any other form of DNA in their blood. Now, like I said, Homo sapien, African, or Negroid, better yet. Then you have Neanderthal. What is Neanderthal? Neanderthal basically means Europe, essentially. So we think of Neanderthal, white people. White people today have between, I think it's like 2 to 8% Neanderthal DNA in their system. So when you think of Neanderthal, think Europe. When you think of Mongoloid, think of Asia, or the Asians, essentially. Now let's get into the notes for today. And make sure that you write everything I'm saying down. Yeah, well, you can have this in your study to do more research, because it's a very deep subject, the topic of race. How did they come to this? Well, let's first start off by saying what is their explanation for the origins of race. Now, first you have the monogenetic theory, and then you have the polygenetic theory. The monogenetic theory is the out of Africa theory. No debate there, or not really a debate, but that's pretty much all it is. Everybody moved out of Africa, and the rest is history. Next is the polygenetic theory. It's the same theory, but other races are involved. I did not mention the Australoid race, but that's kind of irrelevant. Australoid meaning the black people of Australia, but we'll get into all of that later on down the line. The Neanderthals and the Denisovans, they're not 100% sure where they came from. I'm going to prove to you where they came from in this video, but they're not 100% sure where they come from. The Neanderthals go back 200,000 years. Homo sapien goes back over 400, 500, 600,000 years. And Homo erectus goes back 300,000 years. So we're in the threes of hundreds of thousands of years range. I want people to really understand that, for all my religious people to watch this video. This is what scientists are basically in agreement with when it comes down to the origin of man. Of course, life starts in Africa, but we are 600,000 BCE at this point in the game. There is no Bible, there is no Quran, there is no Torah right now. This is man. Your Bible says that the earth is 6,000 years old. So by default, if we're going based off of real anthropology history, the Bible automatically gets shut out. It automatically is a false doctrine, but that's the topic for another day. Now, at some point, they figure Homo erectus mated with Homo sapien and gave birth to Neanderthals and Denisovans. And the inbreeding that took place with the Neanderthals gave basically birth to white people, essentially, or Asians. Now, none of these two theories are, they are not 100% sure on these theories. And I'll explain why they're not later on, but let's keep it pushing. Now, there are two polygenetic theories. One is there are basically 2-in-1 theories, basically, that explain where the Caucasoids and the Mongoloids come from, or the Neanderthals or Denisovans, basically. The first theory is that Africans migrated out of Africa, crossed the Red Sea into Iran. They split. One group went to Europe and became the Neanderthals. One group went east and turned into the Denisovans. You're going to find it's hard to say that goddamn word. But anyway, the second theory is that the Africans left Africa, went into Europe and Asia, and made it with Neanderthals and the Denisovans, and that's what gave birth to the Caucasoid as well as the Mongoloid race. Now, there's a problem with this model, simply put, because you can't take, let's say, a Kunta Kinte looking African or 100% pure African and mix him with Neanderthal and get Justin Bieber or Justin Timberlake. It's just not possible. We're going to show up because we have dominant genes. No matter what you made us with, we will always show up. That's just simply put what it is. Let's go here. This makes the Africans basically the mothers and fathers of the human race. Because again, no matter how you push it, Africans came first. Like I said, Homo sapien goes back almost 600,000 years. Neanderthal 200,000 at the most. So who was here first? So that kind of negates that theory in itself. Africans migrate. Okay, so this Africans who migrated out of Africa have no. I'm saying this all wrong. Africans who migrated out of Africa never had any Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA to begin with. So that again dismisses that whole entire theory in itself, because like I said, Africans are Homo sapiens 100%. There's no way around that. There is no Neanderthal DNA in them. I'm talking about a pure-blooded African. I ain't talking about African Americans, because due to slavery, our genetic makeup is a little bit different. But I'm talking about pure 100% straight off the continent, never left, never had to even experience colonialism. Africans have no Neanderthal DNA, have no Denisovan DNA. So like I said again, that kills their theory. Now there is a second theory, and this is of the polygenetic theory, and the theory is that the Africans migrated out of Africa, went to Europe and Asia, and they turned into the Neanderthals and the Denisovans, and that, to me, that makes more sense, essentially, because you're not going to sit here and tell me that these people made it with the Neanderthals, and then that's how it gives birth to the Caucasian race, when we know Homo sapiens and Africans were here first. See, what they're trying to say is that the Neanderthals and Denisovans were already here. No, all life started in Africa, so it makes more sense that they went up there and turned into the Neanderthals and Denisovans, and I'll explain why later. Now, Dr. Mancia and Anders Ericsson has a theory that I want to expound upon, and if my video feed is lagging, I apologize. It's nothing really I can do about that today. I'm trying to get this video out. The audio will be perfectly fine. Now, like I said, Dr. Anders and Andrea Mancia and Anders Ericsson have put a model together, and the article is on New Science. You can go check it out. I'll make sure to post the link in the description, and as well as post the screenshot in the video. They began with the ancestral hominid population throughout Africa and Europe. Because of their regional proximity, the hominids in Europe and had more genes in common with the northern Africans than the southern Africans. Remember what I told you earlier? Africa and Europe have, I can't talk. Africa and Europe then became genetically isolated from one another, perhaps triggered by climate changes, Mancia says, the Ice Age. This allowed the Europeans to evolve into the Neanderthals and Africans to evolve into modern humans. Crucially, though, the modern humans in North Africa retain genetic similarities with Neanderthals that the southern Africans lacked. Northern Africans ultimately moved into Europe but did not interbreed with Neanderthals to share any common genes with them. Now, there's a problem with their theory. And again, like I said, they try to separate the two stories, essentially. But you can't. The problem with this theory is, of course, systematic racism. Now, I'm not calling these two dudes racist by any sort of, because I don't know them like that. But there is a need to divide Africa and Europe. But again, you can't get a European population without European. I mean, you can't get the Africans. I mean, you can't get the Europeans without the Africans. It just doesn't make any sense. But let's keep it pushing. So basically, what they're trying to say is, the Africans and North Africans, or the people in Europe, are these hominid looking things, or ape looking things. And basically, in essence, they're saying that the ice age or climate separated these two. It basically separated the North Africans from the South Africans, and the Europeans from the North Africans and the South Africans. And these hominids became the Neanderthals. Now, here's the problem, like I said, with that. Again, Homo sapiens existed thousands of years before Neanderthals. And the fact that they're even trying to bring hominids into the equation, again, it's just all bullshit being thrown into the mix to throw everything off. But let's keep it pushing. Now, the civilization of barbarism has a theory that to me makes a little more sense, and I stand by, and most scholars are also in agreement with it, even though they won't sit here and admit to it. They are. The agreement is basically that life started in around Ethiopia, Kenya, or Tanzania. Now, there is new evidence to show that it started in West Africa a little bit, but nonetheless, it starts in Africa. And the reason why I say that probably makes more sense in West Africa because of what I'm about to say next. Basically, the first way that they say that civilization of barbarism says that the Africans migrated out was through the Red Sea, and then they crossed into the North and Middle East, and then it went north, crossed into the Middle East, and then went into Europe, and then basically that's what they did. Another way they might have went was they went through Morocco, crossed the Straits of Gibraltar, and then split. Some went north, and then some went east, and they would travel and settle. These Africans that migrated would later give birth to other races and civilizations and other tribes, or the indigenous people of East India, Asia, Europe, Iraq, Iran, the indigenous valley, and etc. Now, let's first start off with the Andaman tribe. Who was the Andaman tribe? The Andaman tribe is basically the indigenous people of India. Now, when you look at these people, they have black skin, nappy hair. They look like they literally just walked off the continent of Africa. Look at them. Go on your phone and Google search Andaman tribe and see what comes up. Now, most of these people were wiped out by the British. You're never gonna look any of this stuff up and not find white people doing some destructive shit. But nonetheless, the descendants of the Andaman tribe is the Sentinelese. Now, if you know anything about the Sentinelese, these people live on an isolated island. White people have tried to get over there, and anytime somebody tries to come onto the island, they shoot them with arrows. And I find that to be very funny, and I think that they are very smart, because they know anytime you probably see somebody white, it's going to be some bullshit. So the information was passed down, and anytime you see somebody white, shoot. I think it was a priest or some little white priest or whatever it was went over there trying to spread Jesus to them, and let's just say he did. Let's just say he met Jesus before they did. So you can look that story up about the Sentinelese. So, but I find that shit to be very, very funny. Now, like I said, the Sentinelese basically descend from the Andaman tribe, and like I said, they are the indigenous people of India. Now, excuse me, hold on right quick. Now, like I was saying about the Andaman and the Sentinelese, because my video feed went out. Now, like I said before, they are the indigenous people of India, and if you do any research on them, you will find out that they are looked down upon by the Indians, essentially, because of their dark skin. Now, it's a shame that these people who are the grandfathers of India are in the Middle East are just looked down like that. It's a little funny, basically that, like I was saying about how the preacher got shot, but he went over there on his own terms. Excuse me, essentially. They say if you go over there, we're not liable to come protect you. They literally have like military barricades to keep people from going over there. So if you go over there, they're gonna shoot to kill. But like I said, due to racism, they're looked down upon their people. Now if you go more east, and you look at the people of Mani, the Mani people, or the Negrito people, or the Batik people, these people look African. The Mani people are the indigenous people of Thailand. These people are clearly from Africa. This again proves my point that man can't to prove the point that I was making to the dude on Twitter. Essentially, the dude on Twitter was trying to again say that the Eve gene, or the mitochondrial Eve gene theory, is not necessarily true. But if you look at these people, you have to use from an educational point, you have to use an educational viewpoint, but also use common sense. These people, the who was it, the Andamanese, or the Javadians, these people are considered to be Caucasoid people based upon their skulls. But if you look at them, they just came straight off the continent of Africa. But they label these people as Caucasoids or Caucasians. This is why I say you have to use common sense. Look at these people, but let's keep it pushing. Again, the Mani people, the Negrito people, these are the indigenous people of Thailand. There is nowhere where you can go on the planet and we're not there. Period, point blank. You will find a civilization that looked like they did thousands and thousands of years ago. That's purely point blank. Look at the skin of these people. Look at the lips. I mean, just look at them. You can tell where they came from. You can trace it back to Africa. You don't even need any DNA for this. You clearly can see where these people came from. Let's go a little more east. The civilization, the Khmer civilization of Cambodia, the Kampa civilization of Vietnam, and the Malaya civilization. You find our people no matter what. Look at the artifacts. Look at the ruins. Buddha. Let's talk about Buddha for a second. There is no denying that Buddha at one point was black. The original Buddha statues were black. You can find pictures of Buddha with cornrows and nappy hair because at one point black people were looked at as gods. You look at this new white pale Buddha, that's not the original Buddha. These are the new Buddhas. The old original Buddhas were black people. Hidden Colors does a great job on this. I forgot which one it was. I think it might have been the first one. Hidden Colors does a great job of describing the African presence in Asia. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm giving you the indigenous people of Asia. But go watch it. I think it's Hidden Colors 1. They talk about Buddha in Hidden Colors 1, I believe. Go watch all of them. But nonetheless, the original Buddha was black. And like I said, all of this change and is due to racism, essentially, because at some point down the line, white skin became looked as favored. You understand what I'm saying? So these people who are the indigenous people, you don't see them in movies. You don't see any of the Andamanese. You don't see any of the Negrito. You don't see any of these people in any movies. You see these white pale people in these movies. That's because of racism, essentially. Racism does not just affect here in the Americas. It affects all over the world. I say this always. There's nowhere you can go, and racism is not a key role in any part of the world. America, here in America, it's more overt and more, talked about here in America because of America's history, essentially, and because African Americans don't take no shit from white people. Basically, we call these people out every single chance we get. But let's keep it pushing. Let's go over to China now. We can look at the Zhai or the Zhang dynasties. These people clearly are African. We can also look at the Khoisan people. Now, I always use the Khoisan people as a teaching point, because when you look at the Khoisan people and you look at their features, they have the slanted eyes, but these people are nowhere near Asia or India. These people are straight in Africa. The Khoisan people, look at them. I'm gonna have a picture on the screen. They live on the continent of Africa and are possibly the oldest people on the planet. I think they're either second or third of the oldest people on the planet. And look at them. This completely proves the mitochondria Eve gene that I was explaining to this dude, because when you trace it all, because you could trace the Negrito people, the Batik people, the Javadians, they all trace back to Africa, no matter how you want to slice it or look at it. It's proven. You don't even need to know DNA or scientific evidence. All you have to do is use common sense. I mean, of course, we can, get into DNA and all the other kind of stuff. But when you just use common sense here, the indigenous people of Asia and India look like they just came straight off the continent of Africa. Why is that? It's because these are the indigenous people that migrated out of Africa thousands of years ago, essentially. But let's keep it pushing. We can go to Australia, and I could go on for another 2 hours about Australia and what's going on there. But we can look at the indigenous people of New Guinea. These people have blonde hair. They have blue eyes. You understand what I'm saying? We're not even gonna talk about what they go through there and how they're treated. Like I said, everywhere you go, black people are treated like shit. But these are the indigenous people of Australia, the New Guinea people. I think it was the Tasmanians. They were wiped out by the British. These people you can't find a Tasmanian anywhere. These were some of the indigenous people of Australia. The British wiped them out. Why is it that white people have this history of violence against black people, but they want to sit here and act like they're the saviors all of a sudden of black people? But that's a topic for another day. But like I said, man, I've given you a series of people that are not in Africa, but look African and descend from Africa. I've literally walked you from the Horn of Africa to the Middle East, to India, to Asia, to Australia. I just gave you a whole migration pattern of black people that migrated out of Africa. This is stuff you don't even learn in school. This is stuff you have to pick up on and do research on, because your enemy is never going to give you the truth. We have to understand that. You understand what I'm saying? They're never going to give you the truth, essentially. These are African people. At the end of the day, no matter how you slice it, how you want to cut it, they're African people. Now, let's talk about the origin of the white race, because I'm pretty sure this is what everybody wants to know. What's the history of Europeans? What's up with these people? I'm always going to refer people to this book. the Iceman inheritance. But I'm gonna give a little synopsis in this video of my theory on where white people came from. And this is also a proven theory, whether people want to agree with it or disagree with it or not. Now, there are two theories. The first theory, again, is the out of Africa theory. And, some people believe that, like I said, Africans were, went north and all the other kind of stuff. But I'm going to expound on, this theory even more. So basically, the first theory is that these Africans basically went into Russia, Sweden, places like that, and got caught in the Ice Age. And due to extreme climate changes, because the Ice Age is real cold. You understand? They're saying there's no melanin and stuff like that. That these people, that the cold climate or lack of sun would basically affect their melanin and cause them to lose it. Now, here's the problem per se with that theory. It's not completely wrong, but here's the problem with it. Black people, we are endothermic, meaning we have internal body heat. What do I mean by this? I have turtles in my house. I have 4 of them. I have to have a lamp for these turtles in order for them to survive, because the lamp represents, sunlight. Reptiles need sunlight. Crocodiles, lizards, snakes, whatever. If they don't get any sunlight, they will curl up and die, no matter how you slice it. That is what you call exotherm, essentially. Now, again, humans, we are endotherm, which, like I said, we have our body heat. Polar bears, if you ever look at a polar bear, they could swim in cold water, deal in extreme cold temperatures and not freeze up. Let's use another example, the cheetah. I remember seeing on I think it might have been Discovery Channel or History Channel on YouTube, the cheetah could run so fast that their body temperatures skyrocket. And if they keep running for so long, they'll pass out. Why is that? It's because their body generates heat internally to where they can survive, essentially. That's crazy though, how that you can run so fast that you generate that much body heat. But let's keep pushing. So that is the problem, essentially, with that theory. But Africans, as long as we as black people cover up, take care of ourselves, don't be exposed to like absolute zero cold circumstances, we can basically survive. And we can look at Eskimos, they're brown skinned. These people live in cold climates and they're brown skinned. You understand what I'm saying? Now, some of them come outside covered up. Some of them come outside with nothing on. And they've been living there for thousands of years. Why is that? It's because humans are endothermic. We retain our body heat. But let's keep it pushing. We can look at the people of Sweden, or the Finland people, or the Sami people. Now, looking at them, if you look at pictures of them, they look almost similar to Mongoloid people, essentially. They have Mongoloid or Asian features, essentially, when you look at the oldest pictures of them. You understand what I'm saying? And these people are brown skinned. Now, due to white invasions and the Aryan race constantly bombarding them and taking them over time, they become to look white, like I'm going to make sure I put on the screen. And these are the Sami people in Sweden, essentially. Like I said, they went from brown skin looking people to looking white, essentially. Now, the whitest people are a product of mixing and breeding of the natives over the years. They went from looking more Mongoloid again to white and Aryan, and they actually are dying out. And it's funny that due to this, they actually are protected by the Swedish and Russian government, basically allowed them to repopulate again. But like I just said a few minutes ago with the Tasmanian people, they blew them to smithereens. You can't even find the Tasmanian. They protect their own, but like I said, psychopathic and systematic racism at its finest. Now, let's look at the second theory. The other theory sounds more bizarre, but it makes more sense once you hear it. And I'm pretty sure by the end of me talking about it, this theory, you will agree with me 1000% on this theory. Now, Africans, when they left out of Europe, they went north and basically got trapped in the Ice Age. We're in agreements with that. But they did not turn immediately white. After years and years of non-exposure to the sun, basically, this is what caused them to turn white. And a genetic deficiency is what kicked into them, and it's what caused them to lose their melanin. Now, what is this deficiency called? Most people don't know what it is, or most people do know what it is. It's called oculotanus. I can't say the damn word, but oculotanus, or OCA 1 and 2. What is that, Trey? What is OCA 1 and 2? That's an extreme case of albinism. Sounds crazy, right? Let's break it down to you like this. Animals have albinos. Lions have albinos. Tigers have albinos. Gorillas have albinos. Crocodiles have albinos. There are a bunch of different animals that have albinos. And we know for a fact that Africans or humans can have albinos. Now, it's going to make more sense if we continue to break this down. OCA1 is again a severe case of albinism. That basically, and the traits that you find in this, especially in OCA1, is, listen to me now, white skin, blonde hair, gray eyes. And in some cases, they can be severely blind, but that's rare. But who has those traits? White skin, blonde hair, and gray eyes. Who has that trait nowadays? Now, let's talk about OCA2. OCA2 is the more common of the OCAs, and it's not as severe. But the traits of OCA2 are blonde hair, red hair, blue eyes, green eyes, and gray eyes. Where do we find these traits in people? You find them in every race of people in the world. And why is that? Why do you find these traits in every single people across all of the world? It's because you can trace it back to Africa. No matter how you want to slice it, it all goes back to Africa. Because again, Africans produce albinos. The Asians produce albinos. The Indians produce albinos. And where do they trace back to? Africa. No matter how you want to slice it, or how you want to put it, or how you want to play with it, or you're going to have to trace it right back to Africa. Period, point blank. There's no way around that. Don't let anybody tell you that this doesn't make any sense, because it makes all the sense of the world in the world. But let's keep it pushing. This goes again to the Eve gene theory, or the mitochondrial Eve theory. If you are not my son, I cannot pass something down to you because you're not my son. But if you are my son, I can pass something down to you. This is what helps prove this theory even more, and I'm going to show you why. Let's look at albinos in Pakistan. Now, I'm pretty sure nobody has ever seen an albino Pakistani, but I'm going to put it on the screen and you'll be able to see it. They have red hair. They have blonde hair. They have blue eyes. You understand what I'm saying? And when you look at the mother or the brothers or other people in the family, they're dark skinned, they're black. Why is it that these Pakistanians are albinos? Again, it's because this is going to make sense to how white people essentially were created. Now, people can disagree with this all they want, but when you look at the evidence, it makes all the sense in the world. OCA1 and OCA2 caused by a deficiency in melanin. and the loss of pigmentation. Now, let's talk about this here for a second. And this goes to the whole origin of the white race thing. Nature gives you, let's talk about at birth for a second. When these so-called Africans went into Europe and got caught in the Ice Age, nature is going to give you what you want, and not what you want, what you need to survive as a people. If you are living in cold and in frigid environments and lack of sun, then nature is gonna basically do what it needs to do to help you survive. Essentially, there's gonna need to be some mutations or some genetically modified things done when a baby is being born. This is the work of the Creator. This is the work of God. This is basically human life preserving itself. So, what are some traits that white people have that black people don't have? We have thick lips. We have more broader noses. You know what I'm saying? Most of us have hair and naps. What are some of the traits of white people? Thin lips, thinner noses, longer hair. Why do white people have these traits? And this is gonna prove my point, because when you look at the Neanderthals, they have these exact same traits. Why do they have thinner lips? They have thinner lips to basically keep cold air from coming into it. They have thinner noses. Why? They keep colder air from coming in there. Because if you're living in a cold environment, that thinner nose and thinner lips keeps colder air from entering your body, and that helps your internal body heat. Let's talk about the hair for a second. They have hair that covers their ears, covers the back of their neck. It keeps their face and facial features warm, essentially. This is nature at work, and white people have those same traits of the Neanderthals. The Neanderthals are, again, the percentage of the DNA of Neanderthals is like 2 to 8% in modern white people and Europeans. That's why they have those traits. Now, again, let's keep it pushing. This is why I said OCA1 or Oculinatanis makes the most sense when we're talking about the creation of the white race. Period, point blank. And like I said, as I keep going, it's gonna make a whole lot more sense. Now there are other OCAs. There's OCA3 and OCA4. Let me put it this way: OCA 1, 2, 3, and 4 can be found in black people, but only OCA, I think it's 4. Well, really 3 and 4 can be found in black people. I think OCA 3 can be found, I think, in maybe Japanese people, rarely. But you only can find OCA 3 and 4 specifically in black people. Why is that? Because we would be considered patient zero. When you look at patient zero, and even in studies of medicine, patient zero always is going to have a different set of traits or a different set of attributes than all the other patients that have been affected by this, essentially. And black people, of course, are patient 1. That's why we can have OCA 1, 2, 3, and 4, and only one OCA be designated to us. What is OCA? What is OCA3? OCA3 basically gives reddish brown skin or ginger hair. This is where you see people with the freckles and stuff like that, essentially. Now, what is OCA4? OCA4 basically is vitiligo. What is vitiligo? And this is why I say that I may have the OCAs mixed up, but vitiligo only can happen in black people. Why is that? Albinoism is when basically happens before birth. Child comes out, has a lack of melanin. What is vitiligo? Vitiligo is when a person is born black or has black skin and lose their melanin. They have, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen a person vitiligo before. A person who, like I think it's Winnie Harlow. She's vitiligo. She has black and white spots all over her. This again helps prove where the white race comes from, essentially. And once you understand that, essentially, over years And see, we have to take this into consideration. This is over thousands of years, essentially. When those Africans went into, Europe and had to deal with the Ice Age, essentially, and mutated into what, basically Neanderthals. When they came, basically what would happen is all of that constant mating and albinism would create what is now today somewhat the modern white person. And when they will come out of Africa and then mate with Africans, essentially, because you have to understand, even though they came out of Africa and would live amongst black people or Africans, they would still go home and mate with their people. So when you have all of this albinism on top of albinism and constantly mating with albinism, this right here is going to lead to the white race. Let's take African Americans in slavery, for example. I'm going to use me as an example. I don't know this to be true, but let's just use this as an example. Let's say, because I know I descend from slaves. Let's say my, I don't know, let's say my great grandmother, great grandmother, let's say 6 times back was raped by a slave owner, per se. And my, great grandmother was born from that. Now, let's say that the offspring of that rape during slavery was a light-skinned baby. But then after that, that light-skinned baby got with another black dude, a real dark black dude. They're going to produce what? A brown baby. And if that continues, I don't know, 4 or 5 generations later, at that point, you'll never see another light baby again. Why is that? Because it's that white gene does not have the what's the word I'm looking for? It cannot be dominant due to so much, like I said, Africans have dominant genes. So in light and black, brown, and light skinned are nothing but shades of black, essentially. So even though that one child may have been light skinned, because we have dominant genes, he was still black, no matter how you want to slice it. And the fact that they got with another black person, that person just restarted the cycle of dark skin and melanin. This is the reason why, some of us who descend from slaves are brown skinned, but we also have, like me, I'm hairy. You understand what I'm saying? I'm a hairy dude. But I also know that I'm descend from West Africa because my hair, I have a hat on, but my hair is nappy. It's naturally nappy. That's a West African trait, nappy hair. You understand what I'm saying? So this is basically the creation of the white race. It's albinism, essentially, mixed with maybe a little African gene here and there. But it's the albinism. This is why white people look the way they look. This is the reason why white people, and I'll probably get in trouble for this, smell the way they smell. This is the reason why when you look at the history of white people, they have such a violent background, because it's that Neanderthal DNA, according to this book, in them. That Neanderthal DNA causes them to act out and do crazy, irrational things, essentially. When we look at Africa, Africans have never needed to go and invade another people's land. For what? You have everything in abundance in Africa. When these Neanderthals were in the caves in Europe, you have to understand what they went through, essentially, and the change that went through them psychologically as a people, essentially. And I'm getting into other videos and other aspects of this, but I have to point this out, essentially. This basically need for, quote unquote, to dominate everything comes from that Neanderthal blood. Like I said, white people have, I think, like 2 to 8% Neanderthal blood. So do Asians. But this is the reason why they're white looking, because of albinism. Now, of course, everybody comes from Africa. But as I've shown to you in this video, we're all not the same. It just simply put not. That's the reason why some people say it's blessed to be in melanin. It just simply put is because if you white people can't sit out in the sun for too long. This is the reason why if you go look at some Asians, they have, you know, like umbrellas over their heads over there because they don't want to get too dark. Or because they can't take the sun. This melanin, and this is the reason why, and this goes to the whole thing of what I was saying earlier about, and I'll touch on this in another video, in my next video. Because, like I said, they claim that North Africans, Middle Easterns, and Indians are considered Caucasoids because of their skulls. But I just showed to you in this video where these people come from and who they come from and who they are and what they are and what they look like. These people are not Caucasian. Understand that. The Egyptians, they were not white people. You understand what I'm saying? They were not Arabs. These were black African people. And this is the reason why there is such a cover up, because if we give the accomplishments of the Egyptians or the Sumerians or even the Hindus of their time, if we give all of those accomplishments to other people besides black people, then that puts a whole new spin on twist on where everything comes from. This is the reason why this type of information cannot get out. Now, some people may agree with it, some people may not agree with it, but it makes all the sense in the world when you think about it and when you piece it together. OCA 1, 2, and 3, and 4, albinism, is the best case scenario for understanding where white people come from and where white skin comes from. Because again, black can only produce white. I mean, black can produce white, black, red, green, whatever, but white can't produce black. Simply put, black people can produce every single race on the planet, as I'm showed you in this video. Look at the Pakistanis, the albino Pakistanis. These black people of Pakistan produce a white baby. What more is there to say? The red hair comes from OCA. The blonde hair, the blue eyes, green eyes, it comes from OCA. And due to multiple inbreeding that was done, this is how the white race was formed. Let's look at the Italians. The Italians weren't even considered white until, let's say, I think the 1900s. Let's take another spin on this. What was Hitler's whole thing about creating the pure white race, or the Aryans? Did Hitler know that some of those Jews were, I don't know, had a little melanin in them? That puts a whole new spin on that. What is this pure white race? You understand what I'm saying? Like what? Like it once you understand all of this, it puts a whole new spin on the concept or the origins of all the humans on the planet, because you understand and look at things a little bit differently, especially with the Hitler situation. Because like I said, Hitler's whole thing was creating a pure white race, or a pure white Jew. And like I said, black people are the indigenous people of every people on this planet. There's nowhere there's nowhere you can go where we were not. We're everywhere. There's no way around that. But I'm gonna end this video here, and the next time I will talk about the skull shapes and all that other kind of stuff, because this thing gets deep. But I appreciate everybody who watched the video. Again, if you want to support these two authors, I recommend getting their books. Civilization or Barbarism, The Iceman Inheritance. Get those books, man. These two books are very, 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 very important. You know, best way to, if you wanna, you know what I'm saying, learn something, get a book, man. It's the best teacher. Of course, some of this information I got online, but what's in books, dude, is infallible. But I'm gonna get up out of here, man. Like and subscribe to the channel. Share the video. Peace.